Hey, so this is a review of Dharma Bums. Uh, it's a book by Jack Kerouac, a novel. Um, and I haven't done a lot of research on the dates and stuff, um, but I've read this book probably about two times. Originally published in 1958, so before the 60s. And Kerouac was writing like a fiend, or God among writers, if you want to call it that. So I've been reading this book, Desolation Angels, and it's I started reading it and I realized I missed the Jack Kerouac. There's something about his writing that just mystifies me and is one of the most amazing amazing things, just the way that it rolls off the tongue and just flows, everything flows together almost like a song, or like it has a meter to it, and just like someone singing a song, like very operatic almost. So it's interesting, and it's a different feeling than most other books I find. um, I just it's something that I'm drawn to, or I always come back to. And there's enough Kerouac books out there to just read one every once in a while, every few years, if you like it. I certainly do. This particular book, I like it because it's got a little inscription in it. I didn't write this, but it says it's to Sarah, addressed to Sarah. So someone gave this as a gift to someone, and I ended up with this book later on. But it's interesting because both the lead female character in both my books is called Sarah. And I thought it was interesting because when I got this, I was writing my first book, Winter Lyric, and that was her name right from the start. And um, I think I read this the last time in about, well, actually, might have read it um, three times now that I think about it. So the first time, actually, interesting story. I I don't think I bought it. I won't say that I stole the book, but the interesting thing is in On the Road, there's kind of a funny line there where they quote President Truman, who was the president at the time, and they say something like, "Whatever you need to do to survive, do whatever you need to do to survive." So then, um, him and his buddy, I think it's Remy in Vancouver, are stealing stuff, and then the line comes back, "Whatever you need to do to survive," because it's like tough times, or like Depression era, or wartime. I think it was in the 40s, or slightly after the war, or I can't remember exactly in On the Road. I think it's around the wartime or just after. So um, the economy was not very good, I guess. Truman was in the 50s though. So, anyways, I don't know exactly how Kerouac put it, but I remember that line. So yeah, and obviously, um, I needed the Kerouac to survive, like big time. There's nothing I could do to survive without the Kerouac. So I certainly like Jack Kerouac's books. Um, and But anyways, that's aside. I kind of went crazy there. I don't know if it's because I didn't pay for the book or whatever, and like Penguin was after me, but I kind of went crazy and I stopped reading books for probably about 10 years, almost 10 years. And that was the last book I read. And I had, it's not that I stopped or I wanted to, I just had difficulty putting words together and understanding words. And also at the same time, I was trying to write a book, so the two don't go together well, and the book didn't end up being published, and nothing happened with it. But that was the book that I said, okay, I want to write, and I quit reading. But now I realize, after 8 years later, that was one of the first books I came back to, and I said, whoa, there's a bookmark in here. I should continue reading this, and I finished it. And I think somewhere along the way, I may have I think I may have brought that copy to a used bookstore, and I don't think this is the exact copy, because I think it was actually it had a cover more like this cover, and so I came back to it, and then I think I took it out from the library one time, and I read the entire thing, and chapter 5 is one of my favorite, and I read the chapter with Princess and Smith in the tub together to a girl named Princess, and that story is in my book Winter Lyric, and also a different version of that story published in Riverband Style Review. That was in 2014. So I read that book. I think the last time I read it was in 2014, and then I'm not sure if I read it a third time. This one, I think I actually have read this one sometime in around maybe afterwards, so maybe a third time, but 2014 was the year that I started writing Winter Lyric. And right before I started reading that, I also read the book about Kerouac's first love in high school, or first serious relationship in high school, with called Maggie Cassidy. And I just went really, really like deep into the Kerouac in that period. For whatever reason, I had like a return and realization that I really, really liked Kerouac, and for the longest time, partially because this is the book that made me want to be a writer and write my own books about my life, sort of. They're not totally autobiographical, but this is probably my favorite book. I don't get me wrong, I really, really like this book. This is Desolation Angels, and pretty much just started it, and I'm already a third of the way through, because it just goes so smoothly. For some reason, I can't put it down. A lot of people, and also, I was surprised when I started reading Desolation Angels, because at the beginning of the book, there's a foreword that says, you don't want to read this, and I don't know, it doesn't really sell the book very much. And when I started reading, I'm like, this is amazing. It's your regular Jack Kerouac. It's good. So anyways, but one of my favorite chapters in this book is chapter 5, the one that I read to the princess character in my book. And then at the end, which was amazing, because I had stopped reading this book for so long, for like almost 10 years, and there was a bookmark sitting in it. And then I picked it up again, and there's a story in the back at the end of this book with a character named Christine. My sister has the same name, and I think Christine is pregnant in this book. My sister was pregnant at the time, living in a cabin. The person in the book is living in a cabin, having a party with Kerouac. And I went to visit my sister for the first time in years, moved completely out of town, and she was living with her new boyfriend, and I was reading this book at the time, and it just amazed me, because it said so much about life in almost identically to mine. And that's the beauty of Kerouac, is that almost anyone can identify with it, at least at some point in their life or another, because it's true to life, which is the most amazing thing that anyone has done in literature, or one of the most amazing things that anyone has done in literature, because um, there's nonfiction books, but they're usually instructional or educational, and this is not it's not totally true to life in the sense that you're not living life, but it's not educational. It's just seeing the world from someone else's eyes, or seeing the world as it could be, or what could be from the average person, or and it's not opinionated or suggesting. It's somewhat a heightened level of um, consciousness, really, to see life like that and see life through the way Kerouac saw life in his days. And there's a certain beauty to it, and I just admire it and recommend it wholly. I really enjoy the Kerouac books, and you can't go wrong. It's one of my favorite. Although On the Road definitely ties everything in all together very nicely by comparison to some of the books. They're a little more. Some of the books are specific and focused on one aspect of his life more than another, whereas On the Road is kind of generally traveling and the transitory nature of his lifestyle at that time in his life. So, um, altogether, fully recommend this book, and it's one of my favorites.